What would you most want to whisper in someone's ear, like 2,000 years ago, that once you've told someone, it kind of makes immediate sense? Or you give them a very simple set of instructions for how they can make something or build something or demonstrate something for themselves. And for me, the one that stood out by far the most significantly was this idea of germ theory and how that links to the microscope. That imagine that the centuries and centuries and centuries of human suffering through history because we didn't have the right idea about why people got sick and why they died and why plague seemed to spread very quickly through cities and from person to person. So if you told people that the reason people get sick isn't because of bad air, malaria from the Italian, it's not because of some fractious god has smited you. It's because there are things which are invisibly small. They're so small, so tiny, you can't see them with your naked eye. But they're there and they get into your body and they multiply and you pass from one to the other. But tell you what, this is how you make glass from scratch. And I give the recipe in the book. And actually, one of my favourite maker projects when I was researching for the knowledge was making some Robinson Crusoe glass from scratch. I went to a beach and I got sand and seashells or chalk and soda ash, sodium carbonate, and made some glass from scratch in the course of a weekend, which you could then fashion into a lens to manipulate and control light, and then build a microscope from it. And there's nothing stopping the ancient Romans over 2,000 years ago building a microscope if only they'd known what to do. If you just tell someone the most useful thing to do or to try, you don't have to stumble across that invention again serendipitously, like we did in our own history. You can leapfrog straight to it, cut out hundreds of years of fumbling around in the dark. And perhaps the best way of doing that would be to build these repositories of human knowledge, something like a manual for civilization, which the Long Now Foundation in San Francisco talks about, or a total book, a book that contains the sum total of human knowledge, but also organized in a way that is useful, in a sort of progressive, holding your hand and leading through the steps of the ladder, unlike something like Wikipedia, which is an absolute mess of information just dumped in there. And you might then have these repositories of the sum total of human knowledge dotted around the globe, and maybe have some big conspicuous markers that point your post-apocalyptic survivors to where their local library for rebooting is.